apparently there's been this little brouhaha over the new Doctor, Ncuti Gatwa's Doctors season 3. Apparently he made comments that they were going to do season 3, and then it turns out that the BBC walked things back. And they're like, oh, it's fine, it's fine. I don't know so much if it is, because we know the ratings have not been great. So apparently it started out with, there was a Graham Norton show. They were on the Graham Norton show, and Ncuti Gatwa was on it. And apparently when he was filming the show on Thursday, he made comments that alluded to them doing a third season for sure. All right. So he said about season 3 is coming, and we know that season 2 doesn't have a release date yet. We know they're doing the Christmas special, and after that, we're going to get into a season 2. But as far as after season 2, we didn't know. Disney is also co-funding it because they don't have enough money on their own. And if it's not performing, Disney's on a tear to cut anything that isn't working or change anything that isn't working. And it seems that politically driven things don't work. And they really have gone ham-fisted on Doctor Who. I mean, so much so that when they finally got David Tennant back and he was on there for that little special thing, they spent the whole time with Donna Noble, and they had her trans child on there, like lecturing the Doctor on pronouns, but the Doctor started out as a woman. And it's just gotten so, ridiculous. And of course, everything's political. They told people, if you don't like it, go touch grass. They did. They didn't watch the show. They're trying to make excuses for it. But it's been a question whether or not we were going to get a third season. Now, we know that Russell T Davies wanted to do it, but we don't know if he was getting it. So Gatwa was on the Graham Norton show on Thursday, and I guess apparently during the show, he made comments that it was going to move forward, and then that has been changed. So what he said, allegedly, according to, this one is Cosmic Book News. So apparently he said at the recording, we did the second series this year. The Christmas special is coming up, and we are filming a third series next year. Well, not long after that, the BBC basically was like, no, we don't know what's going on with season 3. However, when they aired the Graham Norton episode, they literally changed what he said. So a lot of news sites ran with his comments. But when the show aired, they edited it to say, we finished the second season earlier this year. We've got the Christmas episode coming out, ... at Christmas, ... but it's been amazing. And before supposedly said the Christmas special is coming up and we're filming a third series next year. So they cut different things of what he said out. And apparently the BBC seems to be like saying that, we don't know what's going on yet and stuff like that. So now Deadline's out there like, oh, no, they didn't edit it at all. It wasn't true. Deadline's saying that when he recorded it Thursday, he delivered what appeared to be good news for the fans. And his comments were briefed to the press by the Graham Norton show's publicity team on Friday morning. But his quote mysteriously changed when the chat show broadcast on BBC One later that evening. They're claiming this wasn't the BBC, but it was the show decided to liven up his answer and was not obeying a sinister request. Okay, this doesn't make any sense. Supposedly, you want to claim that everybody's just demanding a third season of Doctor Who. That's your narrative, right? So he says that they're working on a third season, which would liven up the audience and the answer according to your own, point of view. But you took it out to make his answer more lively. That doesn't even make sense. That doesn't even track. It wasn't a sinister request from BBC bosses. Again, he started out saying that it was coming back third season. We did the second season series this year. Christmas special's coming up. And we are filming the third series next year. That's what he said. They took out only about filming the third series next year. But Deadline's trying to say that the Norton show edited his answer to make it more interesting and liven it up. Does that even make sense? It doesn't make sense. How is anything more lively than saying, hey, the third season that y'all been waiting to hear whether it's going to live or die is going to happen? That seems awfully lively to me. That is the biggest load of shit I've ever heard. That does not even make sense. And then it wasn't the sinister BBC yet, according to Deadline. This is what they said. As we've said previously, the decision on season 3 will be made after season 2 transmits. And as always, we don't comment on speculation. Season 2 will likely launch next spring. That is what the BBC said. Speculation. It came right from Shurigawa, and they're calling it speculation.
And here you basically have the devil beginning to close in on itself. A lot of these actors, these woke activists, that's what they are, woke activists. They basically center their careers around destroying the things that we love, destroying the things that we enjoy. Don't forget that the last series of Doctor Who prior to this individual taking over the role was with a woman. Doctor Who regenerated into, I believe her name was Jodie Whittaker, and then she had a series of different relationships with people in that series. I never watched it. I never watched a single episode of it. The only part of it that I caught was the regeneration where she regenerated into David Tennant. And I was so happy to see David Tennant return. But then unfortunately, in the special that came afterwards, there were a couple of different specials with Donna returning as the Doctor's companion, and they basically turned it into a parade, just a terrible parade where they were like, "Oh, there's a character in there who is, there was a member of the community." So basically, let's put it that way. There was one of those X-Men in there, if you get what I'm saying. That was the son of Donna's. And there was all kinds of representation, and oh, this person's in a wheelchair. And it was just insane stuff going on. And the interesting thing is that David Tennant's doctor, he did not regenerate. This is crazy. So he ends up getting like wounded and mortally wounded, and he's supposed to do the regeneration now, and he's like, okay, the regeneration is starting, but he's like, oh my gosh, this one feels very different. And where things get interesting is instead of regenerating, he basically splits into two doctors. So, David Tennant's doctor is still there. He's still alive. He's basically living with Donna now. Spoiler alert. And the new doctor, the black doctor, he starts going on these adventures. But it's kind of strange because David Tennant's doctor also has his time machine. So he still has his time machine. He can still travel through space. And potentially, I'm guessing he can still regenerate again because he did not fully regenerate. He just split into another guy. And he goes, this has never happened. This kind of suggests to me that the BBC was very, very concerned and they wanted to give themselves a way out. So just in case this didn't work out, in case putting this new doctor in as Doctor Who failed, they had a way out for themselves where they could say, okay, we're going to bring David Tennant back immediately to take over the role. We're not going to have to come up with another excuse to explain how he returns again. And we're just going to keep him there and watch what happens. That's what I think is going. Guys, there was no reason to leave David Tennant behind again. There was no reason to say, okay, his doctor is now just going to go live with Donna and everything's going to be hunky dory and he's just chilling. That goes against the spirit of Doctor Who. And even Donna says to him, like, at the end of the episode, this isn't forever. You don't have to settle down forever. But now he's just taking a break. Yeah, guys, I feel like they knew from the very beginning they were pushing this woke crap to the point and they wanted to give themselves a way out. And they very well may bring David Tennant back again, and completely erase the new doctor, the black doctor, from existence. And there's nothing wrong with it being a black guy, nothing wrong with him being black, but this was not the doctor that we wanted. Everything it's like they went to even another level of woke. They just keep on going higher and higher and higher. And like I said, this cancer, it's never going to go away. It's infected society, and sadly, it's going to be with us for a very long time. You can just never really get rid of it, and they basically will scream and holler and call it kindness. And no matter what you do, it's just going to be around. They'll do bait and switches where they'll convince you that you're getting one thing and then give you another, or they'll try to pretend and act like they've gotten rid of it, but then they'll insert the same ideologies and views in something else. So, for example, they'll give us an episode where, let's say they bring David Tennant back for another season, and it's an entire season of David Tennant's Doctor Who. But they'll still have like the diversity, equity, and inclusion crap in there with, certain people in wheelchairs and a certain number of this and this, but they'll do it and they'll put it in there and act like it's just a normal part of it. Or there's a lot more women in positions of power, but they'll just put it there and act like it's normal and act like we're not supposed to think about it or ask questions about it. Or there are people in relationships, like same sex relationships, and again, it's just there, but we're not supposed to think about it, but it's still there. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then you'll have the people online writing their articles that they didn't go far enough and there's not enough diversity, equity, and inclusion, but it's still right there in front of us because you can just never make these people happy. This is very interesting. So the BBC, they know what they were doing, and the fact that they're not saying outright that, hey, they're renewing this show, they've basically walked back his comments. They basically told him, like, yeah, man, you're good. Guys, can you imagine there not being another season of Doctor Who? There's only one of two possibilities there. Either they cancel the show or they replace him and ask him to step down. This is the crazy thing, though. This hasn't happened in a very long time. I don't even know if it's ever happened. Like, maybe it's happened before that a doctor was fired, but usually you are not fired as the doctor, you are retired. So you basically retire, you decide that, okay, I don't want to continue on in this role, and some other actor can come along and replace me. And that's normally how it goes. But with this individual, he's making it very clear he wants to continue going in the role of Doctor Who, and the BBC is basically saying they're not sure that they're going to keep him in that role or they're even going to keep the series going. So there's the potential of them either canceling it or replacing him. And I'm thinking that they're more than likely going to go into the direction of replacing him because they've butchered the series, they've run it into the ground. And that really just highlights the messaging there of go woke, get woke, go broke.
But no, guys, it's mundane. It was just to liven it up. I don't think so. That doesn't even make sense. This is so stupid. Basically, what's going on is they're waiting to see how season 2 does, probably because Disney is going to decide whether they're going to go ahead with season 3 based on season's 2 performance. We know the first season did terrible. Lowest ratings, bad. Like they're talking here, BBC response to Doctor Who, series 14, low viewership, okay? They're talking about the ratings and about how they admit they had the lowest overnight ratings to date, dipping 2.2 million viewers. The 7-day catch-up figures also saw a series low. So overnight, 7-day catch-up, bad. They acknowledge this. Russell T Davies acknowledged this, saying they might not be the ratings we love. We always want higher. They were perpetually bad. And they kept dropping. We're talking worse than Whittaker era.
And you might be wondering why Disney matters in this entire situation, but as you can see on the screen, while Disney does not own Doctor Who, they do have the worldwide streaming rights. So Disney does not own Doctor Who. The BBC still holds ownership over the series, while Disney Plus has the streaming rights for everywhere outside of the UK and Ireland. So you have to imagine Disney is paying an insane amount of money for the rights to stream this, because most people don't watch television anymore. Most people are streaming the series, so they are streaming it all around the world. Disney has the rights to stream it all around the world outside of the United Kingdom and Ireland. So if you want to watch it in any other country, you have to basically pay for it on Disney Plus, pay Disney Plus to get access to it. So if Disney cancels and says, hey, we're not going to pay for this anymore, then that's a massive hit for the BBC, and that's going to lead them to saying, yeah, we need to either cancel the series or we need to get the current guy who's playing the Doctor out of this role and bring David Tennant back or someone else.
Dropping, all right? Not good. And then they're trying to argue that, well, the young audience, the under 30 crowd really love it. And, we're looking at when you look at plus 28 days, then the numbers are better. Well, I'm sure they are 28 days out. I'm sure if you look at plus 6 months, it's probably better than it was overnight. That's just math. I can't even. The mental gymnastics The pretzels they're turning themselves into to make this make sense is ridiculous. He said, flat out, we're filming a 3rd series next year. When the show aired, he said, we got Christmas episode at Christmas. It's been amazing. And he took it all out. You got Deadline saying, they didn't do it. They just did it to make his answer more lively. You have Russell T Davies acknowledging that the overnights and the 7-day and the basic series, viewership has been bad. The BBC admits it's been bad. But no, guys, it's all fine here. There's no conspiracy. It's weird as fuck, but there's no conspiracy here. Maybe, just maybe, people don't like Doctor Who anymore. Maybe you've gone too far. Yeah, the Timeless Children did not help you. At all. Did not help you. And then you're doubling down on stupidity. And people were excited you got Russell T Davies back, and then he just made it worse. I mean, you didn't think you could make it any worse than Chibnall, yet he found a way. And Shooty Gott was out there making comments and acting like an arrogant douchebag half the time. I wonder what's going wrong here. It's a recipe for disaster. But anyway, I don't know enough about this. I don't know as much about this as Neon. But as somebody just outside looking in, reading this, I'm like, what the hell? I can't even, the logic. I mean, I can't even call it logic. The narrative is so absurd. I don't know who they think they're gonna kid with this, unless you're like a diehard fan who loves any shit they crap out and laps it up. I don't see how any rational person would see this and think, oh yeah, there's no nefarious thing going on here. This is insane.
And to make it very clear, what these people are doing is they are also destroying the IPs, intellectual properties, of existing series that are very popular. They destroyed Star Wars. Now Star Wars series are getting canceled. Many series that were popular in Disney Plus, they are getting canceled. The actress from She-Hulk wants to file a lawsuit because Disney does not want to include her in the MCU anymore. It's been going downhill. Properties like Tomb Raider, for example, it ended up getting an anime recently on Netflix, and what ended up happening is it is a total flop. We actually have a video from Wagner Knows Why, and he basically goes into this further. Like, Tomb Raider, they changed things up, so now Lara Croft, who was an SEX symbol back in the 90s, guys loved playing as her. She was a strong, empowered woman. Now they have completely removed her chesticles, so she has a flat chest. She's extremely muscular. She looks masculine. They've been referring to her as Larry Croft in the in the reviews. People have been calling it out. She's now in a same gendered relationship, so same SEX relationship, and she's constantly crying throughout it. So we ended up losing the strong, fit, beautiful Lara Croft, replaced by an extremely masculinized version of her, who is also extremely emotionally unstable. And of course, it's no surprise that it has flopped hard. And it's definitely costing Netflix money, but for them, they're like, it doesn't really matter because we'll just keep on raising the prices of the service and passing on the failure to our consumers. I made a poll recently, and I said, hey, Netflix will cost $30 within the next 10 years. And someone was like, $30 in the next 10 years? You've got to be kidding me. Try more like 50. We're going to go ahead and watch some of the video that breaks down the flop at Netflix right now for Tomb Raider and why it's a disaster-filled show. And you can check out Wagner Knows Why's his channel. It'll be linked in the description, so you can go and support him. And now let's just go ahead and jump right into that video.
You guessed it, Tomb Raider is flopping with critics and fans, and it's obvious why. Because this is a Netflix animation built on the foundation of preaching modern day political activism to a group of people that are just there to have fun. And I think that's the thing that is happening all throughout the entertainment industry. We're getting preached to in all elements of entertainment, and it's just becoming divisive and boring, even for the activists that are pushing these politics. And of course, I'm talking about IGN, Kotaku, The Gamer. All these entertainment reviewing platforms and media sites are heavily focused on pushing content like this. Even they have to admit this content is decidedly bad, specifically with Tomb Raider, as it comes out with a low review score, even on IGN, one of the biggest proponents of a lot of the politics that are infused into this animation. There's a lot of politics in it that you can easily see stick out and point out with this Tomb Raider adaptation. And I think that's the thing that us gamers, us fans of the content of Lara Croft games and Tomb Raider, people that have been fans for 20-25 years, this is what we feared the most, because we saw this from the content, from the director and writer talking about this adaptation in more ways focused on the activism associated with it, rather than telling a good fun story. They're just more focused on the representation and ideals that they want to push into this genre. And I think that's the thing game players and fans of Tomb Raider Lara Croft are not interested in. We just want to see a cool action adventure story with Lara Croft finally, after 10 to 15 years of having none of that, at least in the entertainment space when it concerns to movies and animation. And I think that's the thing people are looking forward to. And even though this animation doesn't look complete, we still don't have the version of Lara Croft that we've all been waiting to see, because every iteration of this version of Lara Croft just doesn't have the feel or overall body type and just physicality that we want, and overall physical proportions that we see in the ideal Lara Croft. And of course they're going to say this is gender objectification of women and all that, but no, we just want to see what we saw as kids projected in the animation or movie. And that is not wrong for a longtime fan of a game to actually want to see. And this is what anyone from any adaptation space, whether it's comic books, manga, and other properties, want to see with the adaptations that they've so been dedicated to reading since they were young. And I think that's the thing people are hoping to have with this Netflix animation. That's not what we got. We got a version that's hyper focused on the modern day political progressive activism takes and overall aesthetics that are attached to that. And the aesthetics are annoying as hell to look at. And I think that's the thing people are pointing out, specifically with the overall body type and structure of Lara Croft, where it just doesn't have that look of the Lara Croft that we saw in the video games. We just get a square box refrigerator version of Lara Croft, and it just doesn't have the overall proportions, looks, or feel that we want to see from a Lara Croft. And I think even though the voice actor Haley Atwell is a perfect person to choose, she doesn't even exude the confidence in the overall personality of Lara Croft. So it's a wasted performance there as well. And I think that is a sad state of affairs within this animation, where you have the perfectly voice casted individual that would make a very intimidating, attractive Lara Croft, but we get this version that is emotional, unstable, and uninteresting. And this is what I see from at least the 2 episodes I watched. It just didn't feel like we're getting the Lara Croft that we got in the video games. We're getting a version of Lara Croft that is coming from people that don't know anything about the genre, don't know anything about the games, and not fans, and are there for their own activist orientations. And I think you can see this specifically when you have dialogue like this, where people are talking about the rich white folks grabbing up all the ancient artifacts, and it's just like, we're going with this sort of dialogue treatment and overall perception of reality. Is like, okay, we're hearing the modern day politics kind of seep into something that is supposed to be fun, enjoyable, and adventurous. And of course, I think it does have that adventurous in there, but it's not an adventure you want to go on. And I think that's essentially the thing that I see from the first 2 episodes, where it's just like, this is just someone trying to infuse themselves into this IP. Something we've been seeing in Hollywood consistently, where a lot of people that can't get their ideas out there attach themselves to IP. It's what we saw with Joker, and this is the case with Tomb Raider, where someone couldn't get their idea out there, so they infused it into Tomb Raider. And now we have this lesbian Lara Croft version that is emotional, unstable, and talking about things that are probably more concerning with the director and writer of this, rather than the actual Lara Croft that we know from the games. Because the Lara Croft that we know from the games is a smooth operator, unstable sometimes, but quick-witted and interesting. And I think this is not the version we get here. We get a version that kind of sanitized and boring. And I think that is a folly of the show to strip her of those qualities. But I think the people that were making the show don't even know she has these qualities. They just think probably evil men like the beautiful Lara Croft, so we're gonna make something for women. And it's just like, what are you doing? You're not catering to the fan base. And that's what we get reflected back in some of the people that are working on the show. The director of the show is kind of a stand-in for her own character. You can see this with the friend or the potential partner of Lara Croft, and she just has that same look and feel where you see this is the self-insert of a lot of these modern day political activists in the industry for Hollywood, where they're just putting themselves in everything they actually create and not creating anything unique or beyond that. Even the actors are acting as themselves a lot of the time, and that is just not going to bring out the actual creativity that you need to actually produce interesting content. And that's why this adaptation is failing everywhere. Of course, my biggest pet peeve is that they took one of the black guys from Tomb Raider and turned him straight into an LGBTQ character, which is just what they always do to male characters that are attached to these iconic figures, specifically women. They just turn them into gay guys every single property. So this is something I expect. It's something I find annoying. It's such a ridiculous trope, and I'm personally annoyed by that. Specifically, the Killmonger hair that we see everywhere in the genre nowadays, that is just kind of flooding the industry. It's usually non-creative people that are considered themselves non-binary that are creating this Killmonger cut for every single black guy that's in any property, and it's getting annoying to see. And I think that's the thing, people are just frustrated with seeing some of the similar tropes that we see in other properties just surface here, and it shows the consistent thought process of every single person that's working in Hollywood. They think the same, they put out the same product, and of course the audience is going to be bored with the product. Even the reviewers that are on your side are going to become bored with the product, and that's what we're seeing with IGN put out a 5 for this game when they usually consistently give you a 7 if they're trying to help you out. They had to go to a 5. That means they really hated this. They probably want to give it a 2, and I think it's probably in line with a 2 or 3 because it's just not entertaining to watch.
You see, guys, these companies, they are all pushing a political narrative. They don't give a damn about any of these products or services. They have money to make. They are receiving, dictation requests, demands from the higher ups that are saying that, hey, yeah, you're going to push this political narrative. You're going to say that BLM is lit and this is what we need more in games, but you're going to say that it doesn't go far enough. And that's about it. The people who are pushing the narrative, they don't even want to buy these products. They don't even want to watch these things. They'll, some of them will come out and say, oh, it's awesome, it's incredible. But the reality is that it's not. It is absolutely not. And it's just how it's continuing to go, because the gaming industry, the media industry, the movie and film industry, it's all gone woke. Look at the latest season of Lord of the Rings. This is a series on Amazon. The Rings of Power. It's woke garbage, absolute woke trash. And IGN basically called it the best season, and it's amazing. This thing costs $1 billion to make. I think it's the most expensive show ever made in history. $1 billion, and it's just thrown down the drain. No one is watching this pile of garbage, and IGN is like, oh my gosh, it's a 9. It's almost perfect. It's wonderful. It has all of this representation. It's gorgeous. I've told you, so many of these things are just trash. It's you look at the representation of blacks in these movies and so forth, and it's just literally become copy and paste, where they need to meet a specific look and so forth. The studio that just released the game, well, not just released it, they released it a while ago. It was supposed to be centered around African culture and so forth. And, the founder of the studio is a black guy. Guess what? Their entire studio has shut down. I talked about it in another video. Their entire studio has closed down. And they hired Sweet Baby Inc., thinking that Sweet Baby Inc. was going to lead the charge and make them even better, and they were going to be wealthy. They had to fire everyone, and now the entirety of everything is indefinitely on hold. They're done. They're absolutely done, because instead of, there are no pronouns in African culture. Oh, so back in the year, 2,000 years ago in Africa, we were respecting gender pronouns. It was very, very important to respect gender pronouns. And women were strong warriors that taught men how to fight and how to go out and tackle the elements, because women were the original warriors in these tribes, and they focused on gender equality, and all of these other things. Are you serious, y'all? Guys, look at the new Star Wars Outlaws, where you cannot control alt delete the animals in the game, and you cannot steal from anyone except from the cops. So the name of the game is Star Wars Outlaws, but you cannot control alt delete the animals, the monsters in the game, because that's really what they are. You cannot steal from anyone else but the cops. The game is extremely laggy and crappy. The character models look like crap. They're ugly, poorly animated. I don't know. This is what modern day media has become. And like I said, it's going to take a long time before they can even try to walk it back, because many of these projects have been greenlit and been in the works for years. So they're going to have to clean that back catalog of DEI garbage before they can even think about putting out anything else. And by then, many of these companies may not even be around, or if they still are, they'll be jacking up the price constantly to make up for all the losses, and consumers are just walking away increasingly. And when they see this happening, they'll say, oh, the markets are becoming oversaturated. No, the markets are not becoming oversaturated. They said it would, for Deadpool. The markets are becoming oversaturated. No one wants your crap. Look at Deadpool and Wolverine. Deadpool and Wolverine is killing it at the box office. It's made over 1 billion, I think almost 1.3 or about 1.3 billion. And its sales, I'm sure the sales of on digital are going crazy right now. They'll probably put out another version of Deadpool and Wolverine like they did Once Upon a Deadpool or Once Upon a Time, so that people who are 13 can go and watch it. But that's really where I think things are headed. So it's not oversaturation. People are just sick and tired of all the woke garbage. And now people are voting with their wallets. They're voting with their money. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to give you our money for your trash. Okay? I mean, if this is communism, then you could just come and take it. But otherwise, unless you come and take it, we're not going to give it to you. I would rather go and read a book read a book, go back to the classics if this is the way you're going. People will just start going back to the old stuff if this kind of garbage keeps on seeping in. But like I said, it's like a parasite, and once it's in there, it's very hard to get rid of the DEI and its parasites from companies and from media. Also, guys, if you're enjoying the content, check out the Angry Guy Clubhouse. Get top expat and passport bro travel tips, digital nomad guides, passive income strategies, and hard-hitting manosphere content. Free subscribers get access to videos, podcasts, articles, and community chat. Plus, receive the passive income blueprint and digital nomad blueprint just for subscribing. Paid subscribers unlock exclusive guides like the how to build an online business in 24 hours, ebook, wealth building blueprints, and crypto updates. Join us now. Click the link in the description.
And it just shows that the people who are making this don't know anything about Tomb Raider or Lara Croft. They don't have any conceptualization of the character. They probably just know she has a blue shirt, and I think that's probably all they know. Maybe they think guys like her because she looks pretty, so they hate that, so they got to make her a lesbian. That's usually the case with a lot of these projects that are taken over by these activists. They see what men like, and they want to do the opposite of that because for some reason they see all men as the enemy. And I think that's the situation that we're seeing with this Tomb Raider property, where we have people that are just trying to take this and convert this brand into Barbie when it's not Barbie. It's a game that's predominantly focused on elements that highly attract the male attention, even though there's a lot of female players that love it too, because it is a strong woman that's doing adventurous and cool things. But the character they're creating is not cool, not adventurous, not smooth like a James Bond type of operator. It's just a reckless, emotional, an arrogant child that is annoying to see or watch. And I think that's the situation we see here with the Netflix version of Lara Croft. At least that's my interpretation of it, but maybe you see differently. Maybe you love this version of Lara Croft that is getting beaten up and fighting hard. I think it's okay. I know that version came out with the 2013 version where she's getting beaten up everywhere, she's fighting hard. That was interesting for a second. It's like seeing the dark Batman or dark Superman era within the comic book industry. It's like, okay, that's interesting for like 3 or 4 issues, but when we're going to get back to the original version of Superman that's all shucks, all American, doing great things, because that's what people want to see right now. And I think that's what we want to see with Lara Croft. We had the beaten up, not so pretty, annoying version of Lara Croft for 10 years now. We want to get back to the original one where it was fun. She was cool, smart, engaging, and funny as well. And I think that's not what we're getting anymore. We're getting the activist version that is kind of an adaptation of the modern day Lara Croft. And I'm uninterested uninterested in it. And I think everyone is uninterested in it, and that's why this is gonna flop and fail for Netflix. But you leave your comments, tell me what you think about this. I think this is going to be a disaster for Netflix. The reviews are saying it, the fans are saying it, and I think overall this is probably going to be canceled in its second season, because these animations always get 2 seasons once they're ordered. So we're going to get a second season of trash, and hopefully that will be it.
And guys, it's like I said, they don't give a damn. They'll just pass the buck on to us. They'll just keep on raising the subscription fees because they can, because they have no real competition. The subscription model for streaming right now is oversaturated, and as a result, these companies are not going to give up. They're going to keep on prioritizing putting their own garbage on Paramount Plus and Peacock and all these other streaming platforms no one gives a heck about. But until their companies begin to collapse and they start to do more mergers, because that's the direction we're going in right now. It's really unsustainable. It's a very unsustainable model, and we're heading to a place where we're just going to continue to see constant mergers and bankruptcies. What do you guys think regarding all of this? Are you surprised by this? Woke shows are getting canceled, and that's absolutely wonderful. Just like a lot of these games, these woke games are now seeing them, seeing that gamers won't put up with it, and they're facing boycotts. These woke shows are now also seeing that people are just pretty much, they had it and they're walking away entirely. But let me know your thoughts regarding all of this, because where this is headed is basically, it's going to take a long time before anything actually changes, before companies actually stop doing this. And like I said, once I don't know if it'll ever fully go away, because once they have these parasites inside of these organizations, like look at Squaresoft, it will never go away unless it's purged harshly. Then it will be there forever, and they'll just keep on trying to rebrand it, or make it not, or having it in the background where you'll have these characters in the background, 2 people of the same gender kissing, or dating, or being in a relationship, or pushing these narratives. But hey, look how cool it is. Look how cool my sonic screwdriver is, right? Oh, look how fast I'm driving. Isn't this car really cool? Yeah, we're just gonna pretend. Look how fast the Flash can run. Don't ignore all the other stuff that's going on. Ignore the same sex relationship. Ignore the ignore the pandering. Ignore the BLM poster in the background. That's not there for you. Aren't all this other stuff really cool, kids? Yeah. What do you guys think? Woke shows are getting canceled, and I think it's great. Let me know your thoughts, and we'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.